for all of the presentations. So even if you're not able to make it to all of the sessions, you can still go in and see the recordings of those sessions that you weren't able to make it to. So good morning, everyone. Welcome to The Choice is Yours. This session is all about choice boards, how to create choice boards, what are choice boards, and then by the end of the session, I'm hoping to give you some time to start working on a choice board that you might want for your own classroom for this upcoming school year. So I am Tiana Mohondro. I teach Science 8 and MESA, which is our engineering class at El Sal Middle School, and I'm currently going into my 10th year teaching at that school. It's a very long time. Very weird to say 10 years at the school. Our objectives today is you're going to learn what a choice board is and how you can use it in the class, and then you'll get time to actually start creating a choice board that you can use next year. If you have any questions during the session, feel free to either put them in the chat or you can use the little hand raise feature and unmute and ask a question at any time. My goal is to get through the presentation and the slides and to give you some working time at the end where I can answer any questions you have, but also give you time to just work on your own choice board. I'll have a little handout for you at the end to help you in designing your own choice boards. So first and foremost, what exactly is a choice board? You might have heard the word before, you might have seen around, you might know exactly what a choice board is. But for those who are a little unfamiliar with, it's a graphic organizer that allows students to choose different ways to either learn about a particular concept or to demonstrate their understanding of that concept. I categorize choice boards into 3 different categories: either a choice board for learning, a choice board to demonstrate mastery, and a choice board for extension. So we're going to take a look at each one of those choice boards. Choice board for learning is probably one of the most common ones that you'll see. It's where you'll have a variety of different options that students can choose from, but it all goes towards one final product or one final outcome at the very end. They could be videos, articles, interactives, anything that you find online, or it could be even a physical handout if that's what you want. Just something that gives students the option of how they want to learn the content, because we know some students learn better reading an article, some students might learn better with videos, some students might learn better with the hands-on. So this gives them the option of what they want to explore and how they want to learn that topic. But ultimately at the end, everyone's creating the same kind of product, the same outcome, whether it's an essay, a poster, a drawing, whatever you decide it to be. So one example I have is the stress board for stress management we created during distance learning. This allows students a variety of different ways to manage stress, but the end goal is the same. So how students get there is all different, but then the final product at the end is going to be the same. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. So this is the example of the stress management choice board, where it says in the middle here, it has the directions, just 3 steps: watch a video, explore, and then complete a Google form. So all the students would watch the video, and then in step 2, they get to choose what it is that they want to explore. Maybe they want to explore listening to music, and they can click that topic, and it sends them to the slide that has all that information. So each slide has its own different links to it. Some of them are videos, some of them are articles, some of them are websites, but it allows them to kind of explore. And then they can always, if they pick one they don't like, they can always choose a different one that they do end up liking. And then at the end, everybody created the same, or everybody completed the same Google form, and that was their end product. A tip that I have, if you're using a slides for your choice board, is if you give them the publish link, it'll look like this. So you'll notice that they don't have any of the slides off to the side. They can't see any of the notes. It's basically stuck in full screen. So that's my kind of little tip for you for that one. So that's just one quick example of how students can demonstrate for learning. And again, you can choose different ones. But for mastery is the next one. So this is where students are provided with an overall topic or concept to understand, but they have different options of how they're going to show that they've understood that topic. So maybe you've given everybody the same article, or maybe you've given everyone the same video, but then what they do with that information, that's where the choice comes into play. So you have an overall topic, an overall question, concept, whatever it is, and then different options that students can choose from. So for example, it could be something generic. This is my show what you know bingo, and I'm going to switch to that tab. So with this, students can choose how is it they want to demonstrate their understanding of the topic. So I give them whatever topic it is. This could be used for any presentation that I have, and students can choose. We've had some ideas from other team members at our site where you can use it like actual bingo. So they pick their first one, and then they have to pick the rest in the line or in the row or diagonal. Or you have to make them do blackout by the end of the school year. So they have to choose one of each by the end of the year or whatever it is. Or you could just let students choose. So this one could be any topic at all. And then students get to choose. Maybe they want to make a presentation, a Google presentation on whatever the topic is. Or maybe they want to use a Padlet or Canva. These are all just generic tools that can be used for any project. So students all have the same topic, the same project, but how they show that they've understood it is different. So that's where their choice comes into play for this one. You can also create something for a very specific topic. For example, we had weekly assessments, and we usually give the students choices as well with our assessments. So this is one that we use for distance learning. We do have one that we use for in-person. That's a little different. We quite haven't figured out the video part for in-person yet because we're all in the same classroom. Online is a little easier since they were all at home and they can record the video without disturbing others. But this one, students have a guiding question that they answer, and then they get to choose how they answer that question, whether it's a drawing, a paragraph, or a video. So this is our example. So we'd have a little warm up the kids to do, and then they can choose what they want. So for the drawing, the paragraph, the video, they all had requirements they had to meet. And then they got to choose how they're doing that. So they can either use this box to create their Google drawing, they can use this box for the paragraph, or this one for the video. And then we just ask them to delete whatever they didn't use. So if they did the paragraph, then they would delete the video and the Google drawing portion. So we just saw the paragraph. And then, of course, we had our rubric of how to grade it. So everything was graded on the same point scale just to make it easier. So we had the same kind of requirements, but they get to choose how they showed that they've understood the guiding question or the topic. And I have examples of those as well. When it loads, here we go. So this one is the example of the drawing, I believe. Computer's a little slow. So the students got to draw, they labeled, and then they use the sentence with vocabulary words to answer the guiding question. And I do apologize. My computer's being very slow today. I don't think my computer's ready for summer to end. This one is the video, so there is a link here, and then you'll have access to these examples, so you can always go back and watch this video as well. And then the final one was a paragraph, which is fairly straightforward. There we go. Where the students wrote their paragraph, and then we also had them highlight the vocabulary words, just to help make grading easier, that we can see that they in fact used the vocabulary words that they were supposed to use. All right. So far, we've gone over choice boards for learning and choice boards for mastery or demonstrate mastery. Are there any questions before I move on to the last type of choice board? I've been going through this pretty fast. Perfect. All right. And then the last choice board is the one for extension. So this is a great option, especially if you have early finishers. So if you have students that are constantly finishing up early on assignments, you're not quite sure what to do with them, they can only help other students so much before they start getting restless and want to do something else. So this is a really great option where students can continue to learn about a topic, or just maybe they can choose what they want to learn about instead. It might not necessarily be related to your class, but it could be learning of some type. So for example, this one, you have some type of classwork or assessment or whatever it is they worked on in class. When they're finished, missing work should be the first option, at least in my class. And then if they have no missing work, they can move on to the choice board for extension. That'll have a variety of different options of what they can work on. So for example, we had this one created by one of our team members, Chris Caliso. This is a Connect 4 of different topics. And we use this for review for state testing. So it had a variety of different topics that they learned in both 7th and 8th grade. So we had videos for each topic. And then they had an activity that they would choose, and it had to be a Connect 4. So they can either go 4 down, 4 across, 4 diagonal, but they had to choose 4 of these different activities in order to show that they've learned something. So they can watch a video. Let's say they're having a hard time with plate tectonics. They could watch the video with plate tectonics, and they would choose their activity to show they've understood plate tectonics. So this was just kind of a great little review, a little extension for those students who are really struggling with certain topics before we went into state testing. And then the other choice board, this is one of my favorites. I took a long time. I'm still going through and creating this and like adding to it as I find things. But this is a finish early choice board for students who get finished with everything early. There's a variety of different options. Some are related to science, some are not. So students can explore and they can learn, maybe not necessarily about the topics in my class, but anything else. The typing one is pretty popular. Students do a lot of typing games, and I have noticed that they're getting a little bit better with typing. That is something they definitely struggle with. I don't know if they teach it formally a lot in the middle or in the elementary schools. So some students come in really not being able to type very fast, and then after a year or so finishing early and working on this typing games, they tend to do a lot better. Coding, Duolingo. Of course, my Chromebook wants to update now. And a variety of other different things, whether they want to do art projects, they want to do TED Talks are really popular. We do have the Calming Room on there that was put together by Haley Newman for our PBIS. If you have not seen it, I highly recommend check out that virtual Calming Room. It has a lot of options that students really like that helps them. And then each one of these has different links. Some of these are links to other docs that have like 20 different options on those docs. So there's a lot of choice for students. So it's really great for early finishers because they're going to do something that they want to do rather than distract other people who are still working. All right, so now we're going to get into how to create a choice board. So those are just some examples. And of course, you don't have to stick within those categories. If you think of others, you're more than welcome to have other categories. Those were just kind of the 3 that I tend to think about when I create the choice boards, because that gives me an idea of how it should look at the end, whether it's a bunch of options and then one final end goal, or verse or flipped, whatever it is. So the best part is to demonstrate the purpose of the determine the purpose of the choice board. So figure out, what do you want to use this choice board for? Is it for something that students are going to work on when they're done early, or is it going to help them with a topic you're teaching in class? Then you want to gather your resources. 3 to 9 tend to be the best amount. So 3 is probably the least that you would want to have. You can have more than 9 for sure, but it does get a little overwhelming if you have too much. So 3 to 9 tend to be a pretty good amount. For something like my Finish Early choice board that has a whole lot, I do introduce that slowly. So I'd have students go in and pick like one box and explore whatever is in that one box. And then like the next week, they can pick a different box just to kind of slowly get them introduced. Otherwise, it becomes really overwhelming and they just kind of sit there and stare at it for 10 minutes trying to figure out what to click on. And then pick whatever technology you want to use. The great thing about choice boards is you can customize them to whatever your tech level is. So if you're a very newbie and you don't know a whole lot about tech, Google Docs is a great way to go. If you're an expert at tech, you can do the more advanced stuff using slides or sheets or even other tech outside of the Google apps. And then you can either choose a template or you can create your own. A lot of mine, I find templates online and I use them, and that tends to be the best. So the three most common ways of creating and displaying a choice board is either a Google Doc, a Google Slide, or a Google Sheet. Each one has pros and each one have cons. For a doc, it can be easily organized into tables. So you just insert a table. You can do 3 by 3, and then you have your 9 squares that you just fill in each one. That's what my finished early choice board is. It started out with just a couple squares, and then it slowly got bigger and bigger as I found more resources to add on there. It's very simple, easy for students to use. Everything's visible in one place. The cons are it's kind of only limited it's linear in its organization, and having all of the options visible could be a little overwhelming. So again, like my choice board, a lot of times when students first see it, they kind of get overwhelmed with the different options that are on there. Google Slides tends to be one of my favorites, where you only have one option visible at a time. So it's a little easier to decorate. It's a little more freeform. You can add pictures, GIFs. You can do different themes. I know our tech coach had like an Among Us themed choice board when the students were like super into Among Us. So you could have a lot of fun decorating, but it might be a little time consuming as well if you get carried away with your decoration. It could be a little harder to navigate if students aren't familiar with it. So it's easy to have if you got like big buttons that says click here, then students know where to click. And it's a little easy to make mistakes, such as forgetting to link slides to different places. So if you wanted your title slide to link to slide 3 and you forget to put that in, it's a little easy to forget to do things like that. You could also use Google Sheets. Unfortunately, I don't have any examples of Google Sheets, but we did in the past do things like our science fair was Google Sheets, where you can organize each task on a tab, and then students can go through each task that way as well. The only cons is it doesn't spell check automatically, and it's very limited in its decoration organization. So it is an option. I don't recommend it, especially if you are kind of newer to tech. Stick with the doc, with the slides, and then if you're a little more advanced, you can do the sheets. I do know as well it has conditional formatting, and I've seen a lot of math worksheets, which is really cool, that if you put in the correct answer in a box, it'll color in certain boxes, and then it's like a reveal the picture type of thing that students can use to check their work. I've seen them online. It's really cool. I've never tried to make one, but that is an option with Sheets. You can use any other apps as well that you'd want to. If you want to use a Google Sites, so you create a little website with your choice boards on it. You can link different stuff. You can go to different tabs on it. You can go to outside sources. Padlet as well. You can kind of do the same thing. I know there's a variety of different options for Padlet. ThingLink, I know a lot of teachers use that. I personally don't, but I know you can have a lot of things linked on that, as well as Adobe Spark. I know they have slides, web pages, whole bunch of stuff. And then of course you can use things like Canva, Google Drawing, or PictoChart to create graphics. So if you want like a really nice background, you can always create that on Canva or something. And then where can you find templates? There are a lot of templates on Teachers Pay Teachers, but they cost money, so I recommend not doing that. Instead, you can just actually search choice board templates and you'll find a bunch of websites. These are kind of something that teachers will put to get people interested in their own websites. So they'll put like choice board templates that you can download for free as kind of like a, hey, come check out my website type of thing. So you can find a ton of free templates for choice boards, or of course you can make your own as well. In the handout that you're going to get in a few minutes, I do have like, I think 19 different choice board templates already linked that you can choose to see if you like them or not. Some basics. So for Google docs, you want to make sure to give it a title and insert a table. So each resource should be in its own box. So when you create your table, make sure each resource is in its own box just to make it easy to navigate. You can also put tables within tables within tables. So you can do a lot of inserting of tables inside of tables if you really want it organized, but that might be a bit much. For slides, you want to have a title slide with each resource linked, and then you can have each resource on its own slide, and then you can link. So if you just go and select the title and you go to insert a link, it'll actually give you the option of choosing one of the other slides to link to. So you can make sure that it goes through. Just make sure you have a like home button on each slide that students can click on to bring them back to the title slide. And again, for slides, I recommend doing the publish link just because it will give them a full screen view that they can click on and they can't copy and paste from as well. So if you like to give students slides, like to take notes from, if you give them the published view of the slides, they can't just copy and paste from your slides onto their document. Little pro tip there, it's really helpful. And then you can always customize with pictures, with fonts, page colors. If you've never used something like Slides Carnival or Slides Go, I highly recommend to check those out. Those are tons of free just slides and PowerPoint presentations that you can use and you can customize. This template I'm actually using right now for my slides comes from Slides Carnival. So I highly recommend, if you've never heard of them before, check it out. It makes creating slides so much easier. And then some tips and tricks. So focus on functionality first. I like to use a pen and paper and map things out. So I'll actually draw what I want my choice board to look like at the end and kind of label what it is. And then I can always adjust and change and make things different before I start creating digitally. I've noticed for myself, when I start creating digitally right away, sometimes I get kind of stuck and overwhelmed, and then I kind of give up and delete it and try something else. So it just helps a little bit better for me to map it on pen and paper. If you feel like you picked the wrong tech, feel free to change it. Just because you picked it the first time doesn't mean you're stuck with it. So I can't tell you how many times that I started creating a doc and I realized it should be a presentation, or I created sheets when it should have been a slides. So feel free to change it at any point in time. And then before it goes live to the students, I always recommend to send it to a friend or a colleague and see what can be changed. I usually send it to, we have one of the other science teachers at our site, Jillian Isier, for those who know her. She's usually the person I'll send it to, and I'll tell her to see if she can break it. So click everything, basically pretend like you're a student and do the worst things you can possibly imagine on this document and see if it works. Or if you somehow get an error message that I need to fix. So they just kind of like click, look around, and then I send it to the rest of my department for any final feedback to make sure that it looks good before it goes live to the students. Because you don't want to send something out and then realize you don't have it linked correctly and then the students get confused. All right, so this is the doc that I'm going to share with you. I'm going to put this in the chat. And then I will also walk this through. There we go. So this is a document that you can use to help you create as many different choice boards as you'd like. So it kind of recaps what we went through in this presentation. We have our purpose, so to demonstrate learning, understanding, or to extend. I have those little graphics to help you out to remember. I have the link to all of the examples here at the bottom. So you can check out all of the examples. Some of them you might be able to make copies of. Others, such as our assessments and our Connect 4, unfortunately, since they're not mine, I can't give out access for copies. But if you you can email for the assessment one, Susanna Contreras, who's at Alsau High School, and the Connect 4 would be Christopher Caliso, and you can see if they would give you access to make a copy of. But you can at least view them. Then you'll fill in the background information. So what is the standard? What is the topic? What are students actually learning? The purpose, the learning goal, and then what the end product is going to be, whether the end product is the same thing or all something different. Then you're going to gather your resources. So you'll have whatever resources you selected. You'll write down the purpose, kind of just a little quick reminder, just to help you out. As you create more of these, you probably don't have to use this template as much, but it helps the first couple of times to know exactly what it is and why you have that link and why you have that resource. And then, of course, the link. And then you can always add more rows to this by clicking Add More Rows. And then you want to determine your technology to use. So I have the pros and cons that I went over for the docs, the slides, the sheets, as well as others. And then here I have a bunch of different links to different websites, different blogs, different templates that you can look over to see whether or not these are choice boards you would like to use to create your own. And then I've also linked Slides Carnival and Slides Go to help you out as well, that they have a ton of blank slides that are designed just really beautifully to help you out. So I've just put that in the chat. This should be a forced copy, so it should have you make a copy of this document. That way you have it. It is yours. You can edit it, whatever you need to do. All right, and with that, I got through very quickly. This is the rest of the time is going to be kind of a work time to help you start creating your own choice board. I'm also available here to answer questions if you need be, but I actually, before I let you go, are there any questions that I can answer at this time? Okay. So then I'm going to put my chill music back on, and then you can start creating your own choice boards. We have about, I'd say probably about 15 to 20 minutes for you to kind of explore, create your own choice board. I'll be here to answer questions, and then I'll put the link for the evaluation at the end of the session. So I'm going to give you some time to create your own choice board. I'll put that chill music back on. It really depends. So if you are linking to sites on Myon, I tend to link directly to the site themselves. So I'll go to Myon and I'll take that link, or sorry, go to Clever and take the link in Clever for that particular website, application, whatever it is that's linked, just so I make sure it's like the right one for our district. But I tend to link directly to the websites, but some want to link to Clever just to get students used to navigating through that Clever portal. So it's really up to you. I tend to go directly to the sites though. I hope that answers your question. at this time. We still got about 10 minutes left in the session. I did post the eval link if you wanted to fill that out, but you're free to stick around, continue working. I'm still here for questions, but for those who wanted to do the eval link and then maybe go get something to snack on before the next session starts, you're free to do so at this time. And then at this time, we do have about 5 minutes left in the session. So if you have not done the eval link, please do so at this time. I just posted in the chat as well. And then once you've completed the eval link, you are free to log out. Get ready for your next session. I believe it starts at 11:15, so you have a little bit of time. But thank you so much for attending, and I will stick around if you have any other questions or if you need any help with anything. I'll stick around for a little bit longer. I'm so glad that this is helpful to everyone. I like seeing all the different choice boards that people are posting about. It's exciting.